Travis, Paula, how you guys doing? My high-tech camera here. Leah, hello. Rita. Clay, how you doing? Okay. Let's Friday night. We'll see how many show up. Let's get started. Swamp Watch 7519. Yeah, so far. Friday nights are kind of tough. People go out to dinner. They head off for the weekend. So, yeah, no worries. And a lot of people, end up watching it later the next day. So, in fact, that's where most of our views come from, guys. We're probably averaging 15 or 20 that actually catch the live broadcast, but we're getting 200 or 300 that watch it later. So it is what it is, and that's fine. That's why we set this up. I want to start with the fourth. Yesterday. I'm waiting for. I haven't seen any Q post. If you guys have, please post it. Post that there has been another post. So we're not sure about who was on the stage. Like I said, I didn't have a chance to really go through the video. And also, if there were any messages that they decode. So, the bottom line for us is, there were a few haters that came out. Nothing happened. Something's happening every single day. We have to, and what I have done, when you get into this, you have to come to terms with a few things. You have to come to terms with, what do you believe? Do you believe, if you believe that there is a group of people that are involved in our government and heavily involved in pedophilia, if you believe that our economy is on the brink of a collapse, we don't have any choice but to, when we see something that we believe could be a trigger event, that we don't warn people about it. And we're going to be wrong. Probably more often than not. Kind of paraphrasing, no man knows the day or time. I think about that an awful lot. Because this is important stuff, guys. This is life changing for everyone that we know. This is life changing for the world. People don't realize that yet. But there is no one that's going to be affected by this. That's not going to be affected by this. And that doesn't mean that it's not going to be a positive effect. And what we're trying to do is make more positive outcomes than negative outcomes by the work that we're trying to do here. and wake people up to the pedophilia. And I think that if you can get that through to people, they start to understand, well, wait a minute, this is not what we thought. I mean, it's going to be earth shattering when the general public finds out the truth. And there are so many truths to find out. I mean, I'm not even going to go there, but the big ones are going to be the most difficult. The pedophilia, who's involved in the pedophilia, that they are household names, names that these people have supported and sworn to people that there's a witch hunt against the people like Clinton and Obama, Rice, Holder, Kerry, Biden, on and on and on and on and on. Like I've said, 20 to 30 in the Obama administration are going to go down for treason. Many Republicans, including Junior Bush, 43. The point I'm trying to get across is that we can't be silent, and we can't be 100% sure. So sometimes we're going to stick our necks out. Sometimes we're going to be wrong. Again, I'm wrong in that something definitive did not happen yesterday that we can point to and say, here, look at this. That doesn't mean there weren't messages sent that aren't important. It doesn't mean that this isn't going to happen tomorrow. As long as we believe it's coming, we have to keep pushing. As long as we believe that the pedophilia has happened and is still going on, and that the economy is on the brink, we have to push forward. We can't apologize. We can't shirk because it wasn't exactly what we said, because it doesn't make any, like I've said last week, it doesn't make any difference whether it was yesterday or it's tomorrow or it's next week or it's 3 weeks down the road. It's happening. It's going to happen. It's coming. The only way you maybe could think it wasn't, if you just think that President Trump is just not going to do what he said he was going to do. He's not going to drain the swamp. He's going to let this continue. If you believe that, well, you really can't get off the hook there either, because then you got to talk about that. Right? If you're a watchman, you can't just sit back and say, well, it's going to be a little bit different. I mean, because we can't allow that to happen either. If that was happening, that wouldn't be acceptable. That doesn't mean that President Trump can't put this off until the timing is right. And again, I want to stress, he's got all the information. We are working on half at best. And it's not even close to that. And I just want to kind of give you an example of how that plays out from a practical point of view. I see all kinds of channels and organizations chasing their tails because they think that either things aren't going to change that much before the next election, or they just are ignorant to what's going on, and so in one case they kind of know about some of this stuff, but they don't think that it's going to change with President Trump, or they just maybe aren't aware, or they're not aware of the severity. Well, you've got to get some distance to get some perspective. If you're flying at 200 feet, you're not going to get the same perspective that you do from 3,000 feet. we need to be at 3,000 feet looking down at what's happening so we can kind of see ahead how what's happening today may affect what's happening next week and the week after that. Well, if I don't think there's anyone that can deny here, if the President Trump, so if you are, say, working on a project and whatever that may be, warning people, pick anything, and you don't factor in the economy and you don't factor in what draining the swamp is going to do to the landscape, you're wasting your time. Because you got to understand that when these things go down, our world is changed forever. Now, we may not know exactly how it's going to change, but we can bet that it's going to be significant. We know, like just for example, if they were to say President Trump doesn't declare a reset, but he arrested Obama and Clinton, how long do you think it's going to be before the economy's upside down? I wouldn't give it a couple of weeks, probably more like a couple of days. So, I think that changes. It changes how we do our work. We have to push harder because these are really because the information is so impactful. It is going to move people more probably than anything we've ever seen before. And we have to factor that in. We have to stick to our guns here and not apologize for doing God's work. I have said from day one, I am not perfect. Far from it. I do the best job I can with the information I get, and sometimes it's not going to be 100% right. I try and let you guys know what, and it's pretty basic. What's come from God? We've talked about it. He showed me Litecoin. He showed me physical silver. He showed me carbon 60. He showed me the worldwide economic collapse. He showed me the draining of the swamp. Because of some things that have happened, and this, I was called 5 years ago, 2014, the last year I competed. Over these 5 years, I believe with the election of President Trump and all the things that he's done and all the things he's doing, that we may have gotten a reprieve on God's judgment. Now, he's going to judge the wicked. Trust me. Nobody's getting away from this. Nobody's going to get a free pass. But America, I think, is not only going to be spared, but what's been taken from us will be returned sevenfold. That's not me saying that. That's the Bible. That's Mark Taylor. That's the message that he got from God. I said this a lot in the beginning when we started these chats, but I haven't said it much lately. But the reason that I push Mark Taylor so much is because I had probably been doing this for almost 2 years before I even knew about Mark Taylor. And it was just, I mean, I got goosebumps because some of his phrasing was phrasing that I'd never heard before from anyone, And it was exactly some of what I had been saying, what I had been shown and been telling people. And the main thing was that a big misconception in this country is that we are in a battle between Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, liberals. That's not the case. That's how they fooled us for so long, dragging us into that paradigm, conservative liberal paradigm. It's not that at all. It's globalists and patriots. That's how you draw the lines. And then the lines get drawn completely different because there's a lot of Republicans that are going to go down with the swamp. People like McCain, Bush 41, they say was executed for treason, military tribunal. Comes from several sources. It's all going to come out. We don't even need to go there right now. But these things are happening. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. I think getting back to no man will know the day or time, paraphrasing. What that means to me is if we don't know the day or time, we got to be prepared all the time. So, I keep going back to when we get these, I mean, we're getting more and more of these, but just the timing of this with one of our members, a new member, a member who kind of been on the fringe, who'd never watched a live chat. Last week, we just happened to, this is God working. We happened to cross paths. We end up talking on the phone, and that afternoon, she buys $14,000 worth of Litecoin to protect her and her husband's assets. Now, this is a couple that if before she had bought her Litecoin, this trigger event happened where the reset or the collapse happened and the banks closed, she stood to lose every dime her and her husband had worked for I'm guessing 20 plus years. Significant amount. Probably over 250,000 that they would have poof gone. And now they're 100% protected. They're going to come out better if what we're saying is going to happens than if things keep going like they are. Because they're going to be much better off with $14,000 with Litecoin than a couple $100,000 in the bank. Trust me. And the bottom line is it's not like they threw that $14,000 away. It's invested in something that I think we all believe is it will go down as the greatest investment of all time. The biggest return on investment probably in history, I believe Litecoin will be at this point. If you're buying it at $120, I think you buy it up to 300, 400 maybe. It's going to go down as the buy of history. So there's a lot of different ways we can look at what happened yesterday. And to me, it's we don't get discouraged. We don't apologize. We pick up and we keep moving forward. It's our only option, really. If we're going to do this job, if we're going to be patriots, if we're going to be watchmen, this is what we do. And sometimes we're going to get it wrong. But even when we get it wrong, we've got a silver lining. Because even though I got it wrong, we help someone bring some security to their family's financial situation. And also got them in tune to everything else they need to do. And this one person, I'll guarantee it, because she knows a lot of people, she's going to bring 4, 5, 10 more along. We've got 500 members, and I know that we've impacted thousands of families' lives. And every day that goes by, we're helping more. So, again, you know, carrying on from last night, we take this from God and say thank you for the time, because if what I thought could go down yesterday went down yesterday, we would be having a whole different conversation today, guys. The shit would be hitting the fan. It would be wild, and that day is coming. It's just not today. So consider this a dry run. Let's use this to help us move forward. We got some really great information out of this. I told you a couple of things that we picked up about some information about cryptos and people, even though they're kind of entrenched with us, not getting the exact information. And it almost cost one member. And thank God, here's another, silver lining, that one of our members probably would have missed out on Litecoin at these still great prices. I'm if they could have got it at all, it would have doubled or tripled in price, and So, I just wanted to run that by you guys, because this is the job. It's a grind. It's a grind. It's a grind until this goes down. The swamp, the economy, the pedophilia comes out. And, and then when this goes down, it gets probably, well, it'll be different, right? We won't have the resistance that we have now, but we're probably going to be working a lot harder, more hours, because, again, when the whole world wakes up to this, there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of questions and very few people that have answers. So we keep doing our jobs. We keep pushing. We keep calling. We keep texting. We let the criticism run off our backs like water, and we keep moving forward. No fear, no regrets. We keep going. It's a fine line, guys. You've got to kind of think about, pushing, and do you push too hard? Do you reveal too much, and then maybe you push somebody away? I'm to the point where I think we have to start pushing harder. We have to start rattling the cages, and that's why I was so strong with some of my predictions, was because I saw good evidence that they're in the works, and it just would have made sense. Now, again, we don't know what the sub incident had to do with anything. Maybe something happened with Pence. We know he got called back. That could have been just issues with the sub. I think we're going to find out that there were, at least with the things that were going on, we didn't get all the information. Now, whether that had any impact on President Trump's address, we don't know now, and might never know, but I think if it changed his timing, eventually we'll find out about it. I think that everything that's been going on, I think everything that's been going on the last 100 years, we're going to eventually get the whole story on all of it. But who knows how far that is down the road. And it's really irrelevant to me. I don't need somebody else to tell me about the pedophiles, or that the economy's going to go south, or how that happened, or why. To me, it's pretty evident what happened. The elites, the swamp, the globalists, they wanted it all. I mean, they could have run this system the way it's been going for, God, another 100 years. They're pushing for this Agenda 21. I think got them into this because they had to push. There's kind of the other pushing from the other side, right? They thought that they had this thing won, so they were pushing harder than they had been, and that started to raise some eyebrows and wake some people up. And then you saw the reaction from, the media, and it just didn't jive. Some of the things, the attacks seemed overblown, right? And extreme for the circumstances, especially when you compared, well, wait a minute, you just gave Obama a pass. He did something 3 times as bad and nobody said a peep. So, and it's not, they tried to make it out that he's not, he doesn't have the appropriate temperament for being president. Well, I didn't know there was a criteria that you had to adhere to be president of the United States. You who it's supposed to be, you are who you are. We get to see who that person is, and then we decide whether we want you to lead our country or not. As opposed to what it's been, where, they don't really want to tell you who they are. They want to tell you something that they're not. For the first time in a long time, we've got somebody that's not only telling us who he is, but also what he's going to do. And to this point, he's done it better than any president I can name. I don't think you can name anyone who's done more in a short period of time. You could argue Washington, maybe. You could possibly argue Lincoln. I think when history tells his story, Donald Trump is going to go down as our greatest president. He's going to be credited with saving our constitutional republic and our Constitution. When you compare what he's doing, and if he pulls this off, which he is going to do, to what Lincoln did, there's no comparison. Lincoln, I don't think, is the guy that most of us think he is. He did a lot that was unconstitutional, and he kind of gets a pass on it because he got his slavery abolished, and obviously that had to be done. But we are kind of still dealing with. Well, I shouldn't say that. We really are dealing with the results of that, because we can't really talk about all the stuff that's going on about this the Civil War and the memorabilia and the statues and the flag. Listen, guys, our history is our history. We don't burn books. We don't tear statues down. We don't try and cover that stuff up. We don't try and protect people from that. This is all propaganda. This is all that globalist agenda trying to distort our past so that they can control our future. That's not going to happen. They may have most of the people fooled, but the people that matter the most in their situation, when you're committing treason, the guy who's driving the bus, and then all the guys that have the guns, meaning the military, they're not buying it. And if they're not buying it, you're screwed. Because no matter what you say or do, the military is not going to let Mike Pence or anybody else. You can write this down in stone. If anything happens to President Trump, no one will be allowed to take the presidency except a patriot that's put there by the people. And the military will make sure that happens. And anybody that gets in the way will be dealt with. The military understands the treason that occurred here. They understand. They know the plan. They know that the plan was for Hillary Clinton to start a nuclear war with North Korea, with them using the nukes that she sold to them. The military will not allow that to happen. There was an incident, it's been a few months ago, where there was an assassination attempt on, or going to be an assassination attempt. The guy they arrested there, that I'm 90% sure Pence was a part of, knew about. Pence is going down for treason too. So from here, we keep doing what we're doing. We keep moving forward. We keep plugging. We keep pushing. And I'm going to say we keep pushing harder, because we don't have a lot of time left. And the harder we push, the more people we're going to get to. Even if that means, remember, it's about planting the seeds. If we get too aggressive with somebody and we lose them, we haven't really lost them. Don't think that that because somebody walks away from you that you've lost them. Trust me, they're going to remember the conversation. It's almost better if you get somebody that's not on board, or you can see is not going to be on board. It doesn't hurt to push them hard, because that's even more going to stick in their mind when they start seeing the things that you were talking about. And now again, you don't want to punch anybody, get into a fight, get it to a point where you're so angry that the person, or that the person gets so angry that they, don't ever want to talk to you again, right? I mean, we've got to, you can't push that hard, but it doesn't hurt that I've had people hang up on me that I've got back. So don't be afraid. There's no fear here. No fear from what's coming. No fear from the repercussions from the work you're doing. Because there can't be any negative repercussions. Because when you do that, when you push us right up to that wall, you're going to get some people that you wouldn't have got if you didn't push that hard. And it's not like they're gone forever. Like I said, we've planted a seed there. So don't be afraid to push hard. Don't get gun shy because I didn't make the right call. We still keep doing what we're doing. We still keep pushing forward. We still keep talking about the unity. We still are positive when we're trying to reach out to people. I mentioned the past couple of days that I try and talk to new members, and to a person, they all commented about the group, about how positive you guys are, about how everybody seems to be working together. And that's what we're doing here. We should be a model for these other groups or channels that are maybe off track a little bit. Let's try and do it the right way. Again, and we're not going to be perfect. God doesn't expect that. I don't expect that. And obviously, sometimes, the harder you push, the more mistakes you might make. I think that's a trade-off we have to make at this time. Guys, the economic markets are in turmoil. Every place you look, it's a bloodbath. No one can say for certain exactly when the economy is going to go down. No one can say for certain. Maybe even not President Trump knows for certain when he's going to make that call for the SEAL teams to go out and start taking these people down. So we almost have to assume it's going to be tomorrow. We have to take every day like tomorrow is the day that this is going to go down, and push accordingly based on your game plan. Because, I'm just here to facilitate and hopefully give you guys information and ammunition that you can use to go out and do your work. Um, so far it's working great. I mean, I can't thank you guys enough. And every person we get is adding another warrior. So again, we keep going, right? Um, let's see what we got for questions. I am going to. Um, I've kind of re. Um, I've kind of revamped my whole program as far as like how I go through my day and prep for the chats, which I'm finding is, I believe, and maybe you guys can help with some feedback, but I started shortening my prep time probably about 3 weeks ago or so. Personally, it seemed to me like I was tuned in more lately these last 3 weeks than I was previously, because I I it felt like, and again, you guys let me know, give me some feedback here. It felt like I was so worried about getting the information to you guys that I wasn't allowing myself just to be free, and not so much go with an outline, which I'd been doing and had like a couple of pages of notes at night, to where I've got maybe a page with half a quarter of what I was putting in before. And so I'm kind of letting these things go, and releasing myself just to be free. And it seems like I'm it seems like, to me, that I'm more on point doing it this way. And to me, when I go back and rewatch these things, it just seems that to me again. So that it maybe would be easier for people to take on the way I'm doing this now. I think it's fairly subtle. Maybe a lot of you guys won't even notice a difference, but I think it has made a difference, and just want to see if you guys can see the same thing. Bottom line is that it's made it easier for me now, so that it's not taking as much out of me. The other thing is, I feel like physically, I still got the vision thing, I've still got the cognitive stuff, but I feel like physically I'm stronger now, and that, I feel like I could probably do it every night if my blood pressure, you know, is under control. So the point I'm making is, I think I'm probably going to be doing these again, because I think that we're close almost every night. I think at least 5 nights a week, 5, 6 nights a week is what I plan, and who knows, and I think once things break, we'll pretty much do them every day, but we'll play that by ear. Um, okay, so what do we got here? I know Paula brought something up I want to talk about. Marie, how you doing? Okay, so yeah, Paula asked about Iran. Listen, guys, don't worry about Iran. Iran's a done deal. there may be a little fireworks there. Maybe there might be some rockets. There might be some bombing runs. Iran's ready to go down from the inside. And isn't that funny? We had Iranians on our government trying to take us down. But guess what happened? Again, the switch got flipped. And things that were being used against us are now have been turned against the enemy. Classic. Amazing. So don't worry about Iran. I think before the 2020 election, we'll have a deal with North Korea. We'll have a deal with Iran, and the swamp will be drained, and the economy will do what it's going to do. Yeah. So no worries there, and I I can't believe the guys. There's so much fear porn out there, and there's a lot of guys who I think are patriots. I don't. I'm not seeing what they're seeing, and on that front, I've hit it to the T. I don't see any nuclear exchanges. I don't see any wars. I see at most some skirmishes. They're going to be irrelevant to you or I. I also want to talk a little bit about how I get my topics and why I focus on what I do. When I'm trying to get at 30,000 feet, so I get a big picture overview of what's going on in the world, everything I look at, I'm looking at from the perspective of how is that going to impact everyday Americans' lives. And stuff that might be important in the news today, if it's not going to be impactful to us, if it's not going to change anything that we're doing, I pretty much leave that stuff alone. Because I know it's just like with this member who almost missed the boat on Litecoin. There's so much information out there that it's very easy to get overwhelmed by it. So that, and this is part of the distraction. This is why the black hats are constantly pushing these distractions out there, because they want us off guard. They want to throw us off balance. And this is a good example, because she is so busy with stuff, maybe with people who are telling her the wrong things, that she'd have missed the boat because she couldn't take on anymore. So it just kind of, and that's the reason that I try and cut to the meat of it, because bottom line right now, what does it mean to us as Americans? How is it going to affect us in our fight to get our country back, to eradicate the evil from the world? That's all that matters right now. If it doesn't impact us or what we're trying to accomplish here, in my opinion, it's a waste of time, because this is the key. I don't, and if I'm wrong, if you can think of something, there isn't anything more important we can do than getting people prepared for what's coming, even if they get prepared without knowing what's coming. And I'm going to use the example of here in California, the earthquakes. If I've got somebody that's super liberal right now, and I know there's earthquakes going like crazy here, earthquakes back east, we think Nibiru's coming in, maybe causing some of this stuff. There's going to be some interactions with the planet, with volcanoes, with earthquakes, tsunamis. with the sun and the solar flares. I just put up a video today that there's some more and more pictures coming out. We need to know about these things because they might impact our everyday life. But if it's not, we move on, right? We've got to be smart about our focus because we don't have unlimited time. That I can tell you for sure. I may not be able to tell you the exact time or day, but I can tell you it's coming. So, no man knows the day or time. That means we have to be ready every single day. And that's from here on out, that's the game plan. We got to be ready every single day. And anybody that's not ready, and they're a friend, relative, neighbor, we've got to take a crack at them. End of story. Hi, Joan. Is Gary late? Let's put Gary is tardy. Yeah, I try to be on Friday every time. Oh, the other thing, the other fear porn that, Russia's going to invade, China's going to invade, they want us to pay them back, blah, 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 blah. Guys, China's not invading. Russia's not invading. There's going to be no, just the fact that Russia lost 14 sailors and nobody's shooting goes to show you that on both sides there are level heads. Listen, China knows what's going down. Russia knows what's going down. President Trump knows what's going down. There's a reason they don't want Putin and President Trump talking. Because if they're on the same page, the swamp is done. They've got to play. North Korea's off the map for them. Done. Iran is off the map for them. Done. What do they have next? They've got two countries that aren't on board with what they're doing, and they've got to try and figure out how to manipulate them into a war with us. That's their only chance here. And it's not going to happen. That's why I believe that whatever that incident was, I believe the sub that shot off the rocket in Hawaii was maybe somehow involved. I think there's a rogue CIA sub out there somewhere. Now, hopefully, in one of the initial reports said that an American sub went down. Well, if it's the rogue sub, that's awesome. And if it wasn't the rogue sub, and a sub did go down, we would know about it, right? Or there would have been a whole different, I think, reaction. It was way too, on everybody's part, too calm, collected. Anyway, no worries. Don't worry China. Don't worry Iran. Don't worry Russia. Don't worry North Korea. Trump and Kim, they're best buds. Kim is so relieved that this is behind him now. The reset. Yeah, guys, the reset. Listen, there's two options here. Where the economy's going to collapse organically, naturally, or the president's going to declare a reset. Everything points to there are many other. I don't know. How many reset videos have I posted? 10 or 15 from 10 or 15 different people that are reputable sources. It's possible that a collapse could happen before the president pulls a trigger on a reset, but there is no way to unravel this mess without a reset. It's too convoluted. It's too intertwined. They'll waste months or years trying to unwind it, and they'll never be able to, and they'll end right back up at a reset. That's the only thing that's going to work here. There's been too much manipulation. The laws, the banking rules went out the window years ago. You can't fix that mess. So, the reset is going to happen. It's a matter of when in the process. Does it happen up front? Do we save all the heartache and headache of fumbling around for 6 months or a year trying to fix a system that can't be fixed? Or do we cut the cord and move on? We're eventually going to cut the cord and move on. I think the president is on the right page. I think that's what he's going to do. But is he going to do it soon enough? Because this economy is so bad. He doesn't control it. In other words, he can control when he declares a reset, when he flips that switch, but he can't control that it doesn't happen from something else. If Deutsche Bank goes down, the worldwide economy is going to come down. Now, they might be able to cover it for a month or two, but they can't survive. The EU can't survive Deutsche Bank going down. These guys, they're all broke. They're all insolvent. If this was a real world, if this was the banking system was following the rule of law, it would be shut down already. It would have been shut down years ago. Somebody's talking about China holding. Are they talking about China holding up the reset? Okay, so here's another issue, another possible issue. If this is what you guys are talking about, there's supposed to be some gold that Chinese elders have been holding for several hundred years, supposedly. That if certain conditions, and this is kind of a pie in the sky thing, guys. I don't talk about it much because it's kind of on the same lines. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't really hurt anything. If it does happen, it's like icing on the cake. So I don't talk a lot about it because it's not anything we can protect against or we really need to be worried about. But it could be. I've heard some rumblings of some blocks or disturbances to this process may be caused by our Treasury Secretary, another criminal, Mnuchin, and the Fed, which obviously, these guys are globalist, and they're not working for us or President Trump. They're working for their real bosses. And remember, guys, the Federal Reserve has nothing to do with the federal government. That's a private entity. Now, what President Trump, I think, could and probably will end up doing is writing an executive order to eliminate the Fed based on, I think, there are going to be some connections between the Fed and these players with the coup for treason. So he's going to have plenty of ammunition to do whatever he wants. Basically, when this does go down, the president's going to have total control and power. Anything that he wants to do, he's going to be able to do. I mean, virtually anything. There aren't many restrictions if he declares martial law and goes back to the War Act and then is able to pull the military in. He's got, in these situations, when there's extreme threat to our country, to do what he needs to do, and then we'll worry about the details later. Because think about it. If it comes down to where we're under direct attack, which we have been, um, you know, you can't worry about, you know, crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. Sometimes you got to move and you do whatever you have to do to stop a threat. So, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The Cole guy who died in the helicopter crash. Yeah, we're going to see a lot of these plane crash, helicopter crash deals. We're going to see a lot of suicides over the next weeks or months, maybe even, I don't know if it go years, but as we're going through this process and they're getting onto the swamp and getting close to the takedown, there are going to be people who the deep state believes they need to eliminate to protect themselves. Now, I don't know this guy's whole story. Suppose he's a big donor. Maybe he was involved in something else. Maybe he's another Pence, you know, a guy who's pretending to be a white hat who really isn't. I have no idea. I'm just throwing things out there for you guys to think about. I'm not making any accusations here. I don't know the man. It could be that he was a patriot, and that's why they're trying to get rid of him. But for the most part, these people that go down, there's a reason for it, and it could be that they're a good person that the deep state is trying to eliminate because they know something about them, have evidence, whatever knowledge. I want to throw this out too. There have been a lot of rumors floating around about, I don't know if you guys remember Cappy, the guy who jumped off the overpass in Arizona and died, supposedly. There's stories about him being alive. So some of these people, and it might be more than just JFK, that come down, that come back from the dead, there may be a group of white hats that was running around that knew, because remember now, guys, we had not only every phone call, text, and email from everybody in the United States, anybody in the world that they wanted that information on, they could get. So think about that. They know virtually of these foreign players. Don't think that they weren't red flagged years ago. Anybody that was a potential threat or had connections to the deep state was surveilled. So they've got it all. And I think that there's been rumors about Princess Diana that her death may have been fake. Think about it. You know, in that tunnel, I don't know. I not even gonna go there with Princess Diana. I think it's great if she's alive, but that's not my focus right now. I guess what I'm trying to say is we all have to have open minds right now because there's going to be a lot of crazy stuff coming out. That's true. That when you first hear it, you know, it's going to rock you. People coming back from the dead. And when I say that, not meaning like a second coming, but actually their deaths were faked, and then we're going to find out the truth. Not only the truth about their death being faked, but why, what was going on. So, and all of this is going to help the process, you know, the healing recovery process. Yeah, and here's the thing when we talk about JFK Jr. Anybody who's watched, if you've watched half of the videos I've posted on JFK Jr., one of two things has to be true. Either JFK Jr. is alive and well, or President Trump, for some reason, was trying to make us believe that JFK Jr. was alive and well for some other purpose. I've been racking my brain for weeks trying to come up with an angle that would make sense for him to bring him, or at least for him to make us believe that he's still alive. And for the life of me, I can't come up with a scenario that makes sense. And it even goes the other way. It makes less sense to me because they're friends. And if they're friends, how painful is that to the family to give them hope that, well, is he really maybe alive? That he's been hiding from us too because it was so dangerous? I don't see that. If it was proposed, I just don't see it. I think it's more likely that, in '99, he went to talk to Bill Clinton, and he either got right then, he knew that he had to do this on his own and set up a 20-year plan, or that the same people, if Princess Diana's alive, who probably went to her and saved her life, possibly did the same thing with JFK Jr. Either way, I think he's still alive. And when he tells his story, I can't think of a person who could make this smoother by them telling their story other than him. Just think about who he is, where he came from, and then him telling a story about a plot to assassinate him and him having to go undercover for 20 years. And that basically confirming everything that President Trump's told us the last 3 years, he would confirm. How are liberals going to be upset when not only do they have now his story, plus the pedophilia, plus all the evidence of the pedophilia, and him telling with passion his knowledge of this stuff? It's a world that the mainstream media can't survive. It's a world that the Democratic Party cannot survive. The Democratic Party, if this happens between now and the end of the year, which I believe it has to happen, how do they survive? Run a scenario by me that happens and the mainstream media and the Democratic Party are here in 6 months. Because it's not going to happen. Who in their right mind would vote for a Democrat after, and if you don't believe this, you don't know the whole story. Because trust me, when the liberals I know, and these are liberals that have been liberals their whole lives, who have come from a family of liberals, Democrats, not one person I know will be a Democrat after this goes down. They're going to have a hard enough time reconciling it in their own minds, let alone supporting that party, because they're going to be so ashamed and embarrassed. And depending on who the person is and how much warning they got, might be legitimate criticism. I think the majority of these people that I know are good people that got brainwashed, had the wool pulled over their eyes. Doesn't mean they're not smart. Some of them I know are very, very intelligent people. But they're wrong. just because, it's not their fault doesn't excuse it, right? Or make it okay that it's going on. It just makes it harder for them to get through the process. Again, we just have to look at ourselves. Being on the right side of this thing, it's difficult enough. Being on the wrong side of it's going to be devastating for people. So, again, we got to take the high ground. Got to preach the unity. We've got to handle this the right way. Our reaction to this is going to be critical in healing our country. It's given us the opportunity. The way this is playing out, man, God. I must have said this 1,000 times since President Trump was elected. But the way this is playing out, I couldn't write a better script. If I was going to write a script of the perfect path for this to go down, I couldn't. I couldn't write a better script because it's one thing after the other. Is it horrible information? Yes. Is it going to be difficult to get through? Yes. But because we have all of this evidence, because we hopefully have JFK Jr. in the wings, ready to come out and back President Trump 1,000%, and confirm everything he's going to be saying, and confirm all the crimes. Explain to me how the Democratic Party survives. Explain to me how the mainstream media survives that. They don't. So, if, kind of get to an earlier point I was making, if you're not in tune to this, you're spinning your wheels. If you're doing on some other project, I mean, in my mind, working on the 2020 election right now, we're better served doing this. The 2020 election is done. We don't have to do a damn thing for the 2020 election. What we have to do is get people to the 2020 election, right? We've got to get them through to that point. That means they've got to be prepared. And we're going to get more people prepared if we're out there doing our work, doing the job that God gave us. Because if you're here, if you're a member of this page, God has led you here for a reason. Because God wants you to be involved in this. And everybody's going to have a different role. You're going to have to find your own niche. But you're here for a reason. And once you get, guys, and I know most of you already have experienced this, this feeling that comes with doing this work and putting others first. So keep pushing, keep plugging, keep pushing the unity. Beware the cognitive dissonance. That's our biggest threat, guys. It's not the 2020 election. It's not the Russians. It's not Iran. It's cognitive dissonance. So the most important thing we can be doing right now is waking people up and getting them prepared. And again, getting them prepared before getting them woken up is more important. Because you could be woke up and not prepared, and you know, it's going to help you, but not as much as you're ready, right? You could be ready and not woke up, and that's probably a better situation because we're going to help those people because they're already in the system, right? They're the ones that are getting prepared because of an earthquake. They think, but when it goes down, it doesn't make any difference why they stored extra food, why they stored the extra water, as long as they have it when they need it. And that's why I don't worry so much about when I'm talking to somebody new, I and I've got some time, I'm trying to figure out who they are and how is the best way for me to get them to that point. And with some people that I can feel like a lot of pushback from, I'll just go the earthquake. You know, we live in the Bay Area. We got to prepare for earthquakes. You need a few months of extra food and extra water. When it goes down, they're on my list. They get the phone call. You know, it's all good. So right now, we've got to be thinking. We got to be working smart, as smart as we're working hard, right? Because working smart, we're just gonna get more accomplished, and it's key right now, right? There you go. Who's that? Rita. Rita's got a couple of success stories today. Uh, I think, guys, that at least to me, tell me if I'm wrong, and I'm here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it seems to me like it's getting easier. I don't know whether now it's just been, I'm just used to the grind, but it really does. Um, yeah, the Democratic, well, listen, in the Democratic Party, to be fair, there are people who are just evil, and there are people that are just misled, right? I'm not holding anything against the people that were misled, are not smart enough to figure this out. They're welcome, you know. Now, if they were involved, no, you're gonna find justice. But anybody else is welcome, as far as I'm concerned. Who's this? Mike. Mike's 7 year old. There you go, Mike. She's on the ball. Yeah, out of the mouths of babes. It's awesome. And now we know why these people wanted to run the school systems because they're getting them young and they're indoctrinating them. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, and the other thing, all I've been hearing a lot of talk about. Oh God, we need to work to get all these Democrats out of California. Politics. So we've got to get candidates. Blah 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 blah. Listen, in California, half the people in government, half the politicians, state politicians, are going to end up indicted. So, here's the thing. I'm not even sure. I mean, there are going to be hundreds of seats open in California and in Washington and in every state. Obviously, the liberal states are going to have a lot more. Illinois, New York, California. So again, a lot of this stuff is going to be taken care of when the swamp goes down or when the economy goes. So again, work smart. Don't spin your wheels. Don't be working on something that no matter what you do, it's going to make a difference because it's already been decided. That's why I'm saying that what we're doing is the most important thing we could be doing right now. Yeah, Iran is a joke. Iran, if we did attack Iran, it'd take about 20 minutes. They're so weakened right now from the years of sanctions and plus the people, the people would, all we need to do, drop a few plane loads of munitions, weapons, and this thing will be over in 2 weeks. They don't even have to do that. I mean, it's basically over. I think they're going to. I think the powers to be in Iran understand that they need to work out a deal or they're all dead. Because if the people revolt and take them down violently, it's probably going to end violently for them personally. So I think they're motivated to make a deal here. And if they don't, it doesn't make any difference because the people will take them down. And that's going to be way worse for them. Yeah, that's the thing with Nibiru, guys. Nibiru puts a lot of stress from the gravity, from the gravitational pulls. And there's also a lot going on with the electrical charges. There'll be a lot of electrical storms. You're going to see a lot of crazy thunder and lightning storms. Again, I am still not seeing Nibiru as a huge threat. I'm seeing it as being I see God's mercy here. We're going to see it with the swamp. We're going to see it with the economic collapse. I think we're going to see it with Nibiru. Oh, Helen's late again. Oh, also, probably next week, we're going to do a test on Skype. And is Scott here? I think the website is up, but don't go there yet. Again, we don't need it yet, so don't go until I give you the word. But I think it is done, and I'll have an answer for you probably tomorrow, and let you guys know. I'll actually probably just post it when it's ready, and then I want to get your guys' input too. If two or three of you wouldn't mind taking a really good look at it, and then throw out any suggestions once we get it, once Scott gets it up and running. Well, I I I don't know about anybody else. I said that it was a possibility. I thought the thing that was most likely to happen was JFK Jr. coming out. I still think he's alive. That doesn't change that for me. It just means the timing wasn't right to bring him out yet. And I think when they do it, um, that a lot. I think they're going to do a lot at once. I think when it does go down, I think they will do most of it at once. The swamp, the reset, and JFK Jr. I think it might come out same day or very close proximity time wise. JC is talking about what I was just talking about, the Chinese elders, the dragon societies with the ancient gold. Yeah, there was a 6.4 earthquake in California. They're thinking there may be some aftershocks, and there was I think a couple back east too, if I'm not mistaken. There are going to be some earthquakes where we don't normally see them. I think coming up. Oh, that's the other thing, guys. For like I just said, there are probably going to be some earthquakes coming in areas where you've never had an earthquake before. So if you're in an earthquake, the best thing for you to do is to get outside and then get out into the open. You got to look for trees, buildings, wires, power lines. As far away from those things as you could be. The safest place to be is in the middle of a flat open field. If you don't want to sit in the house, get out if you can. And again, if you're in the cities, if you can't get into an open spot, in other words, if you're in the cities with high rises, the thing that's an time when you probably don't want to be outside, because if you're like in San Francisco with some of these older buildings, they've got all these brick facades. If you can't get far enough away from those buildings, you don't want to be standing in the middle of a 2 or 4 lane street and have this stuff falling down on you. So you got to kind of, again, situational awareness. Be thinking. Just don't think because you got outside that you're in the clear. Be watching for those wires. Be watching for trees. Be watching for stuff falling off of buildings. And again, if you're ready, you're going to have all your prep done there, right there for you. So. Yeah, Fed, the Rothschilds run the Fed. Need I say more? Well, yeah, JC's making a good point that we've kind of been in a since the Civil War. We have technically we've been in a state of martial law since the Civil War. I think Lincoln declared it. So technically, he wouldn't have to, but he will, because there's no reason for him not to, and he wants to make sure everybody understands what's happening. And for him to go back to something that happened 150 years ago, no. Here I'm with my numbers again. 100 years ago, 100, well, yeah, no, it is 150 years ago. What am I? Yeah, whatever. Doesn't make any difference. It's better to address what he's doing today than rely on something from the Civil War, is my point. Um, Soros. There's also a rumor that Soros might already be dead. There's rumors that Clinton and Soros are dead, for what it's worth. Honestly, guys, it doesn't make any difference. Um, if they are, fine. If they're not, doesn't make any difference, because they're going to be arrested soon. So, to me personally, don't care. We'll know when we need to know. Something does not add up for sure. Thanks, David. Yeah. So remember, guys, Litecoin, silver, food, water. Um, uh, I'm not going to get into it today, but in the next day or two, I'm going to get into just the basics, and start from the beginning, because we did have a couple of people that weren't 100% dialed in on Litecoin. So I'm going to go through probably the next chat I do, which is probably going to be tomorrow night. I'm going to go through Coinbase, Litecoin, Ledger, Nano S, silver, vendors for silver so that we'll have something fresh that addresses the important areas on this stuff. Okay, guys, remember, please like and share these chats, as well as, again, when there's two places we're going to share, right? On our own personal pages, and then the Watchman page. Be very selective posting on the Watchman. Only the cream of the crop stuff. On your page, post everything, because there's no damage there. I don't believe. Again, if somebody can think of something, let me know. But the more stuff we get out on our personal pages, I think the better. Again, it's about planting those seeds. Remember, fear not. God and President Trump are 100% in control. We'll probably see you tomorrow night at 6 Pacific. God bless.